Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in. This is Defeating the Curse. It is 2022. The Washington football team season is over. It's probably the last season. It is the last season that they will be known as the Washington football team, and fittingly, it ends without a playoff berth. And on the screen, we're going to discuss this in just a moment. I want to say hello to Razzle. Razzle, welcome back. First show of 2022 for you. Welcome in. I want to say hello to Stevie as well. Stevie's coming back into the show. He's gone 2 weeks in a row, which is a record for Stevie. So welcome back, Stevie. So we may or may not have a couple of the other guys jump in here as well. But boys, the story I want to talk about first, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. So for those that are just joining the show, we tend to cover a lot of topics. It's a 45-minute to 1 hour show. We move really quickly. I want to talk about the logo. I want to talk about the team, or this name leak and logo that potentially could be it. The DCFC, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the end of the season for the football team, exit interviews. There was quite a bit of stuff that happened in the last couple of days. Ron quotes from his local press hit this morning. And then I want to pivot and talk about the NFL at large, because there was some epic collapses down the stretch. Well, I won't bury the lead too much, but there's two games in particular I want to touch on. We got playoff football this weekend. We got our first ever Monday night football game, which should be awesome. There's a lot happening, right? This is one of the best times of the year for sports. I'm not going to get into the NBA tonight, but at some point we will pivot back to that as well. So first things first, I want to talk about this logo and this potential name thing. So for those that don't know the background on this, the Washington, D.C. Football Commanders is one of the finalists, or maybe the final name for the team. The logo is crazy. There's all kinds of stuff happening on this. There's the W is crazy. The 3 stars for the district is in there. DCFC is my favorite part of the whole thing because it's got a little bit of a soccer vibe to it. I don't know what this people's team is, but for those that haven't seen this, and Stevie, right before we hit record, Stevie hadn't seen this. This was originally blurred out in a video on NBC Sports Washington. It was a picture on Jason's lap, on Jay Wright's lap, back in like November, but it was blurred out when it ran the first time. When NBC Sports Washington reran the show, it was unblurred and people grabbed it and they're like, oh damn, is this it? Is this what we're looking at? Come Groundhog Day, next month when they unveil the official new name for the team. So, what is your initial thought on this, Stevie? I want to go to you first because you haven't seen it and you don't know anything about it. But when you look at this, does this look like something you would rock on a hat or on a sweatshirt, or is this just crazy to you?
No. Well, my initial thought is if they leaked it 3 weeks before it unknowingly, this team is dumber and can't do anything right. I mean, this is incredible. They can't even hide the logo for a month until the season's over. When I see this, I see a guy who's trying too hard. They're just trying too hard. They got, like you said, they got the soccer thing going. They're trying to appease the soccer guys. Then they got the DC statehood thing going, trying to appease the DCers. Then they got the 1932 for the original guys that love the history of it. They're trying to fit everything into a logo. And it's clear that this
too much, right? It seems like too much to me.
It's clear that this team is dying for some good press coverage and feels like they need to hit a home run with this announcement. And it also seems like it will be an utter failure no matter what.
I think I'm trending in your direction as well. I don't think they know how to roll this stuff out. I think they've been toying with us for 2 years. The only thing we know for sure is that on February 2nd, 2022, the Washington football team will be retired, right? This hat that I'm wearing with a logo that I've kind of grown to like it's gone, right? And they'll be sending us probably new merch and we'll wear it and whatever because it's our team. But that's the only thing for certain that I think we know will definitely happen. But Razzle, I mean, can you get on board with the football Commanders? Like, I don't hate it. I got to be honest. I like Commanders. I like Command a little bit more. DC Football Commanders is kind of a cool name to me. The DCFC concept, again, I kind of like it. But it just seems like I don't know. Is it too long of a name? Is it too weird of a logo? I don't know, Razzle. Where are you on this?
I was gonna say it's too long of a name. Like, how many sports teams do you know have like two names? The Football Commanders. Like, and then just looking at this in the People's Team, makes me. I mean, go back to our
Giants, right? The Giants are technically the New York Football Giants, the Knickerbockers. I mean, there's some teams with. I don't know why they're all New York. I'm trying to think of other ones. It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, those, I think on paper it's the New York Giants and the New York Knicks. No one ever called them the Knicks. I mean, they say like the broadcast fan, old school fans.
Yeah,
but, I was hoping they were leaning towards something, with the red and like, kind of give us a little nostalgia from the former name. But red tails, red hogs, something like that. But there's gonna be so many rumors coming out. There's gonna be so many quote unquote leaks coming out in the next couple of weeks until they finally announce it. This is not. I mean, even in that logo you showed us, it says the People's Team. What is this? WWE, The Rock?
Come on.
Logo has the People's Team in it. Like, this is
Razzle. The irony of calling themselves the People's Team is there is not an organization that treats their people worse than this team. They make their fans walk a mile to the stadium. They charge them $75 for parking. They dump sewage on them. They make the other team fans fall down. I mean, the irony of calling it the People's Team. Jason Wright, by the way, totally unimpressed by him. I don't care if he's a McKinsey guy, okay?
He's trying. He's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, he's trying, but honestly, he keeps stepping in it too. I mean, highs, when we talk about like highs and lows for the season, I don't know. I know what I personally know what the low point is for me. And it's Sean Taylor and the debacle around the retirement. It was announced on a whim and the family didn't know. And the portraits in front of the toilets and the owner showing up looking like he fell out of bed. Like, that is the absolute low for me. I'm having a really hard time. What did they do right this year from a front office perspective? Like, you can't say, like, they whiffed obviously on Curtis Samuel. Fitzpatrick didn't work out. Willie Jackson, like, okay, like, I guess, for the times he played, he was fine. Like, what is the high point of the season? Like, winning 7 games? I mean, they can hang their hat on that, I suppose, but like, the low for me is super clear. The high, honestly, I'm having a really hard time kind of pinpointing it. Maybe it's all the way back when Heineke brought him back to beat Atlanta in week 2. Maybe
no.
Beating the Bucs.
They beat the Super Bowl champions. Come on,
okay,
come on.
Okay,
and I think the low. I was going to say, your Sean Taylor thing. I think we got to go on the field for the low. There's too many off the field for the lows. I think the Dallas debacle, just because it was Sunday night. It was the worst half of football I've ever seen a team play.
Yeah.
They showed no fight. But let's not sleep on some low-key good points. I think Cam Curl is a low-key, positive point for finding a safety that they drafted and brought up, a young guy. It seems like, Landon Collins,
played better.
Played better with the move. Obviously Terry and whatever they do with Terry, to lock him up.
Gibson had a good year.
Yeah. And they found a great backup quarterback. I think we're sleeping on that. They found a quarterback who they can rely on in the future as a backup quarterback. I don't think that's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, Razzle, do you have a high point? I mean, I agree with you, Stevie. I think Heineke being on the roster next year as the backup is that's a good thing. And it shouldn't be just buried. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, he won 7 games for somebody who came into the league, basically this time last year or just short of a year ago, to come in literally off the street and win 7 games. That's a big accomplishment. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. The team deserves credit as well for coaching, for getting him to this point. But the offense was not good. Gibson getting 100 yards rushing, he missed the game. He still got that 1,000 yards. I mean, that's a positive. McLaurin going over 1,000 for the second time, in 2 years. That's a good thing. But like, the bad is like really, really bad. The off-field bad is really, really bad. And it unfortunately just overshadows some of the more positive things, right? Like, people forget, like, we went through 3 kickers, right? Like that's not something you want to do during the course of a season, right? And some of that stuff they'll work out. But Razzle, do you have a clear-cut high, low, for the team?
I mean, other than, what we already mentioned, there's not really anything that stands out, from a high perspective. This was year 2 of Ron Rivera. Hope everything comes down to what we do in the quarterback position this offseason. So, like, I can't. There's nothing like. Obviously, a couple people who came out were, like we said, Cam Curl, like we said, Terry, like we said, Antonio Gibson, a couple guys who stood out this year, but there weren't. It wasn't like a season that kind of. I mean, I feel like if I was a Lions fan right now, and not just bring it, like the Lions ended the way they ended their season, had you much more excited for next year rather than the way we ended our season.
I mean, they
I'm not
ended on a win though
for next season, we'll see what happens in the offseason, and we'll see what kind of moves we make. But in general,
Razzle, it didn't matter how they end the season because the quarterback of next season is not on the roster.
Right?
But we
hope
hope
what I'm saying. We have to address that, but that's not the only thing that's going to get us over the hump. We're not a quarterback away type of team. We have so many other holes. The linebacker position, the defensive line didn't play as well as we expected them to this year.
Well, I think you have to be honest and say Chase's season was not a good season. I mean, I know he got injured, but even leading up to it,
season.
Yeah, well, one sack that's not a good season, and people are killing the other Watt brother, right, for getting to 22 and a half, is it, or 20 and a half sacks or whatever it is. He missed 2 games. I mean, right. Everyone's like, well, 18-game season. Well, he only played 16. So give him credit for what he was able to accomplish, but the defense is so far off from where we had projected them to be, except Stevie, and I want to give him some credit here. Stevie was, yeah. Take your victory lap.
The guy who doesn't watch any victory sports.
Lap. We're all, yeah. Take your lap. Take your bow. But Chase Young did not have a good season. Montez Sweat did not have a good season. The flip side of it is this team dealt with a lot of very unfortunate off-field things. I mean, Montez lost a brother, DeShazer Everett, and like there was things that like it has nothing to do with football, but these are things that obviously take you away and out of your element. Like they're not just focused on football. So like I want to be reasonable in my assessment of the team. 7 wins for this team, given that their answer at quarterback was not present. Their stud defensive leader or one of their defensive leader was not present for half the season. I think overall, I don't know if I fully agree with you, Razzle. I think they ended the season with a win against the division rival, 7 wins.
That was a meaningless game. Come on.
I know. And Joe Judge, honestly,
on 3rd and 9.
Yeah, I mean,
back to back, 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9.
The Giants. The three of us
he should have been. Yeah, Judge should have been fired on the spot. Like they literally should have. Somebody should have called down on the bat phone and said, "Just pack up your headset and get the hell out of here." Like you can't run back to back quarterback sneaks from your own 5-yard line. What?
Yeah, like, come on.
Like, I mean, there's no bigger, like just tuck your willy between your legs and go home call than like that was just like one of the worst, absolute worst.
I'm saying there's nothing to like the way we ended our season does not get me excited for what we're gonna do next year.
I mean, the schedule a little bit softer.
Joe, are you excited about next season?
I mean, I'm not. I'm excited that. I'm excited that we're going to have a name.
Okay.
No. I meant the prospects on the field. I'm talking about the prospects on the field.
No, I mean, can they be? I already know I'm going to regret saying this. I don't think they can be worse if with these same people, this same roster next year, because I think the schedule is a little bit softer.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be better. We're probably going to be at the 6, 7, 8 wins.
Ask me again at the end of April when the draft comes and goes, and they've either drafted a quarterback that will win 4 games, or they move down and get. I will be more excited if they trade for a known commodity as opposed to drafting. I think the draft route is very.
But nobody wants to come, as Razzle said, and as Razzle
somebody will
said,
come. You're gonna have to overpay. Garoppolo would come. Why not? Trubisky would come. Goff would come. Of course.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a great quarterback if you have the right coaching around him and you have the right system and offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I
think your boy Scott Turner is going to be able to coach up Jimmy?
I think Scott Turner. I think I'm coming around on Scott Turner.
Gosh.
I think he deserves a little
Giants,
bit.
That's why.
I think he deserves a little bit of credit for squeezing as much as he did out of this offense. I do.
Hey, I'm a Scott Turner guy too. And me and Joe, we fought last time. Okay, I'm a Scott Turner guy.
Yeah,
he was playing with poo-poo.
Yeah, I mean, he has a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver, and Taylor for all the ups and downs ended with almost 4,000 yards passing. I mean, like the numbers are the numbers.
4,000 yards is an average season these days.
Well, it's 4,000 more than you.
Not with a noodle arm. You just see that boy's arm?
Yeah, I mean, he can't throw. There's no
Can we
yards
stop
after
talking
catch.
about the football
Terry
team?
is
Actual
still
air
hating.
yards, because there's no yards after catch. There's none.
Can we move on with the football team? We're in the playoffs.
No, wait. Let me say one more thing. Come on, let me say one more thing.
Go for it.
Chase Young showed initial signs that worry me that he's entering diva status. And I think it's something to be watched in the offseason. We all remember All In for week 1, okay? The penultimate diva.
Did you
But
see him on TV last night with his
I
boy?
did.
Did you see Andrew Luck on TV?
Look, this is why we can't move on from the Washington football team. You're bringing up RG3, okay? I'm trying to move on. All I'm saying is Chase Young, something to watch out for. A lot of talk this year. A lot of excuses about why he didn't produce. A lot of gravitas and
Ron asked him this
yapping.
morning. Ron was asked about it this morning. Is Chase going to be at OTAs? And Chase said, we're discussing it. And Ron was like, yeah, we'll discuss it. He'll be there. He needs to be there. Right? Like,
Why wouldn't he be?
What?
Why
He's
wouldn't
got
he
some
be?
Gatorade. There's some Gatorade commercial.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. All like Stevie said, all the divas, all the people that are too big for the team, they always do this bit of like, we'll see, right? And Ron made it really clear this morning on local radio, he'll be there because he needs to be there, right? Because he's got work to do, because he had a terrible season. I mean, I'm inferring that from what Coach was saying, but he has to be there. All of them have to be there. The only defensive air quotes star that might not be here, it may be Daron Payne. I feel like he might be sent. Yeah, he might be part of a draft day package to move somewhere.
They haven't reconciled having Jonathan Allen.
I think they did. But I think it's a bigger question. Can you afford to keep him and let him walk for nothing at the end of next season? Right. That's the bigger problem. Same like Brandon Sheriff is another one. Right. This is a very interesting situation that they have with Brandon Sheriff. They've had to tag him twice. They've already said that they're willing to make him the highest paid guard in the league. And he's worth the money, whether you like him or not. He's worth it.
No, he's worth it.
So you can't afford to let him walk. You can't. I mean, they locked up Leno. They're locking up McKissick. They're locking up key players here. You have to lock up Sheriff. You have to. And if that means you're going to ultimately let go of a guy like Daron Payne, who I like, but does he give you something that Ioannidis, Allen, Young, Sweat doesn't? Like, of all those guys, he's the one that you can probably, because you do have Ioannidis, you have Tim Settle. Like, Payne is unfortunately probably the odd man out here, and he's got the name, the cachet. Like, you might be able to get something for him on draft day, especially if you see a quarterback and you need to go up. He's probably the one that gets packaged.
I would be okay with them including him in a package for a quarterback or moving up to get a quarterback. That would make sense.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't want them to go after a quarterback in the draft, because that puts you back on a 2 or 2.5 year trajectory, and I don't know if Ron survives another non-playoff 7-win season.
I know it's a little too early for this question, but if it were up to you, who's our quarterback on week 1 next year? And realistic. Don't tell me Aaron Rodgers.
Realistically, I think Garoppolo is gettable. I do, and I would like to see him here. I think he can make all the throws. He's got that presence. He can lead. He's a leader of men. Why not? Like, I mean, him. Trubisky is a project. Goff is too expensive and probably not coming this way. I mean, I don't see why the Lions would get rid of him unless they were able to fleece somebody. Garoppolo is a real option. Like everybody, the Aaron Rodgers bit, no. The Russell, no. Like, those guys aren't moving anywhere. I'm not interested in Tua. Honestly, there may be a way for them to package enough to entice Houston to let Deshaun. I mean, say what you want about Watson off the field. If you can get Deshaun Watson here for some package that includes a couple of starters and a couple of picks, I think you have to take it. He's a known commodity he can do it.
Deshaun Watson in DC, Chocolate City. It's not a good combination.
Well, and the connotation around the team, I know, but
I'm just saying, okay.
And whoever your quarterback is, you're going to be. This is the piece that I don't know how to quantify it, guys, or factor it in. But whoever the quarterback is here, they're the quarterback of the newly named franchise, right? Like, they are, whether they want it or not, they're the face of the franchise. I think you have to be really careful about who it can't be Taylor. It can't. It won't be Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
It would have been nice if the Chargers had snuck into the playoffs and beat the Raiders, because I would have loved to make a play for Derek Carr.
I don't disagree.
I think now that
I don't think he's gettable now, though. Yeah,
but hey, what's Matt Ryan up to?
I would
He's
love to see Matt
old.
Ryan here. I'm a fan of go get the veteran. Like I think.
I mean,
Why
Matt
not?
Ryan.
Still slinging around. Come on.
Of course he can. He had a respectable season.
But he also has a
He would
big
be an
salary.
upgrade over what we have here, right?
Everyone's an upgrade.
Exactly. You know, with the exception of a handful that maybe aren't actually upgrades. Like, I mean, look at what Tennessee's doing with Tannehill. Like, you can't Tannehill was basically thrown out of Miami, and look at what he's been able to do there, right? So
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, so you want to talk about what? Let's talk about. There's two different things that you just brought up, Stevie. The first one, let's talk about that Monday night game, the final game of the season. You know, going into that game, Steelers are in with either team losing. Everybody was joking about it on social media. We had talked about it late last week. What are the chances that these guys just take a knee? Like, just play for the tie. Both teams get into the playoffs. One of them will get slaughtered by the Chiefs, but they both make the playoffs. It's good for both of them. They are division rivals. And I think we ended the conversation with this idea of, like, if the Washingtons and the Cowboys were in that situation, would they actually let each other into the playoffs? No way. They would actually play the game. Washington would probably lose, but there's no way that we as fans of a team in that setup would be okay with a tie. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Razzle who said, unless it goes to overtime and it's clear that they've both tried to win and they haven't been able to, all right, all bets are off. Just kneel it or whatever. I think the Chargers totally mismanaged the last possession in overtime. Do either of you disagree with me? I think they had a tie in the bag and they were headed to the playoffs.
You're saying, are you referring to his timeout?
Yes.
So I know we talked about this a little bit, you know, before we started recording, but you got to stop them on third down. If you know they're running the ball, you got that's the mismanagement there. Is the run defense. He said he wanted to put in the premier package to get them set up for third down. That premier package allowed them to get like 8-9 yards to get them in prime field
in the field goal range. So
yeah,
you're putting it on the defense. You're putting on the defense.
Them on that run, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be talking about how this miraculous.
Yes, we would, Joe, because Tucker Carlson or whatever that guy's first name is, that boy can kick it from 65. So they were going to kick the field goal either way. He would have made it.
I mean, did you guys want to see the tie? It was it was improbable. I mean, it was crazy to see.
No, I want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs. The NFL, its fans got gypped because that boy is a star. And what he did on those fourth down plays, keeping them alive, the touchdown pass to tie the game was a bullet. Taylor Heineke, it would take him 7 throws.
He would have been
don't poo-poo on Taylor, but look, this just goes back to my other point. Like, you can draft the right guy and still not be in the playoffs, right? And the Chargers, for what it's worth, the Chargers, like,
they have
in
other
my
holes.
adult life, have probably had the most consistent, crazy good talent and have never been able to put it together. Like, I just don't understand this. And this was talked a lot about on local radio here as well, and a couple of shows that I listen to. Like, how have the Chargers never been able to figure this out? Like, they've always had talent. They've had Phillip Rivers. They've had LT. They seem to be able to find receivers anywhere. They've never been able to put it all together. They have a new stud quarterback, you know, in a young guy in Herbert. They didn't make the playoffs, right? So, and now their coach arguably goes to the hot seat if they fail to make the playoffs again next year. So it's just fascinating to me. I don't know. I found myself in overtime cheering for the tie. Like, at that point, I was like, I want to see this crazy thing play out.
For the story, though, not because
for the story. I don't care about the teams. Yeah,
not because both teams deserve to make the playoffs.
No, I mean, I know a lot of people were taking a lap for Ben, and they wanted Big Ben. The Steelers are going to get slaughtered.
Ben can't throw the ball. I mean, you're talking about people getting throw the ball. Ben can't throw the ball more than 7 yards.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's going to be embarrassing on Sunday night.
Like, I'm not a guy to like body shame anybody, but his body's really weird. Like, he's got chicken legs and a huge upper body.
Let me ask you both, because you all know the NFL. I feel like the NFL got involved ahead of the game. Talk to the teams.
Told them to
put them on
the committee, like, hey, no funny business.
Right.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be really bad for the league. I mean, think about all the money that was wagered on, you know, on FanDuel and everything else, right? And that, I've been saying this, boys, like, the real pandemic is the amount of money everyone's losing on sports betting. No one makes any money on sports betting, only the books. But yeah, I mean, you can't have two teams enter a game with no intention of winning. Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I
mean,
think
but they clearly played the game. I mean, the Raiders were up by like 15. Like it was even weird. Like the lead that the Raiders had. Sorry, it was like 12. It was like no situation where it would end in a tie and lead into overtime. But somehow, the way the scoring ended up, it went into overtime and they played it. I mean, they kicked the field goal. They didn't just sit around and run the ball all overtime, which was so. I mean, I don't think.
That's why for me, when it got into overtime, now I'm cheering for the situation, like the uniqueness of this situation.
Right.
But if you're the Raiders and you have a chance to win,
you got to win.
You don't want to play the Chiefs, is all I'm saying.
Right.
So I mean, they were staring at that reality in front of them, thinking we need to do whatever we can to avoid playing.
But I think the Raiders story is improbable given the coaching change. How many wide receivers did they have that got either arrested, put in jail, or were cut? Like it's incredible what they've overcome. The Chargers are the better team, and the Chargers they were and still are to me the better team. But the Raiders won the game, and I agree with you, Stevie. If you're in a position to win the game, go win the game.
But everyone says that there's a lot of hype around the Chargers, and I'm on board with Justin Herbert, but it didn't translate to wins. I mean, we saw there are a lot of games that they lost that they should have won, and I mean, this is why they're sitting on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean,
I like what they're building there. I think next year they'll be in contention for. They'll have to be able to. I know they split the games with the Chiefs this year, but they'll be a real contender next year at a strong wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't. It's not a. I mean, they didn't. Their season ultimately is a disappointment because they didn't make the playoffs, right? But the other team I wanted to talk about, and just kind of pivot to for a second is the Indianapolis Colts, because that team is probably the only AFC team, maybe the Bengals, but definitely the Colts, that you could look at and say they can run the ball, they can play defense, and if they somehow get you in their building, you're going to have a hard time winning against anybody. They have an opportunity to lock up a playoff spot, so none of this other stuff would even matter in the 1 o'clock window. They go down to Jacksonville, win and you're in. And that might be the most epic collapse of a team in a lopsided situation. I mean, Washington's crapped the bed a couple of times where they've had to win and get in against the Giants, against the Eagles, against a division rival. I don't remember anything like what happened to the Colts. The Colts traveling to the worst team in the league.
Hey!
Do anything.
We shat the bed against the Giants a couple years ago. Don't tell me you don't remember that.
No, you're right.
But we weren't game.
But the Giants,
the Giants weren't even trying to win. The
Giants weren't a 2-win team, Stevie, with no coach.
But the Giants,
Joe, they weren't even trying to win that game. They weren't trying to let us win.
Jaguars are bad on like an epic level of bad. Trevor
Lawrence did good on Sunday.
And he didn't. He looked like Taylor. I mean, he had two touchdowns and 230 yards, and everybody's
No. Come on, that touchdown throw where he had a bobbled fumble or a bobbled snap.
Do you want him in Washington?
I would take Trevor Lawrence.
Are you take him? Do you want him?
Yes.
For free? Sure.
No, it's not for free.
I'll give him
for his current contract.
Yeah, in our first round pick.
I mean, they got
drive Deron Payne to the airport.
All the people that are like just tank for a better pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions are the reason you don't tank for picks, because you just end up with first and second picks. You can't retain any of your own talent, and you just great. You have all the talent in the world.
Joe, you're the one talking about drafting a quarterback, and you're saying you don't want Trevor Lawrence.
You want trade up. I'm saying you try to win every game. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you try to win every game, and then when the draft comes, and if there's a guy you want, you trade up to go get him. That's what I'm saying. I've never been a fan of tanking. I don't understand it, because you look at the Jags. What good does it do your team to have two first overall picks back to back, or the Lions? These teams stink.
We're building something.
You're an idiot, Joe. Can I tell you all? I just learned this weekend. I was just reminded this weekend that we played the Dolphins the year before we drafted Chase Young. The last game of the season, we played the Dolphins. If we had lost that game, we would have had the number 1 pick. We end up, the Dolphins drive down. They score a touchdown. They go for 2 with the worst play in the history of the world. They weren't trying to win. They were trying to lose. We stopped them on that 2-point conversion, and that is the difference between Justin Herbert and Diva Chase Young.
No,
You
it's
mean
the
Joe
difference
Burrow.
between Joe Burrow and
I'm
Chase
sorry.
Young.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
Herbert was on
Your
my
point
mind.
is not lost. Yeah, I'm tracking.
We could have had Herbert. We didn't need that Miami play. We could have just drafted Herbert.
Exactly.
That's right. But that means you
Exactly.
gotta have faith in your scouting team and in your war room and all that other stuff. And I don't have any in this team because it's the team that keeps drafting the guy that the owner wants. Most notably and most recently with Haskins.
We're gonna go back to Dan. Leave Dan out of this. Okay,
Are you telling me
Brittany.
Dan
Leave
didn't want to
Brittany
draft
alone.
Dwayne
Leave
Haskins?
Dan alone.
Dan is the one that drafted Dwayne.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He's right.
I don't accept that.
But
don't have to, it's true.
Going back to the Colts, did you see the quote that was going around that the Colts were from the team that nobody wanted to see in the playoffs to the team that nobody is going to see in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, it's perfectly stated. But
they
honestly,
were 2 weeks ago. They were dangerous, and they were the team that everyone thought they could beat the Chiefs.
Carson Wentz made us all eat our words. The guy was playing. I mean, that guy though, he fumbles more than any other quarterback. I mean, talk about somebody who can't figure out how to tuck the ball away. Like he fumbles all the time. But not only did they not make the playoffs, but any talk about their stud running back Jonathan Taylor for MVP is gone.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a long shot for him to. Everyone's talking Brady and Rodgers.
At least part of the conversation, but you can't collapse that in that regard. But I mean that was probably the one thing that really stood out. I mean the Washington-New York game, I watched it. It was very tough to watch, very ugly all around. Joe Judge obviously is let go. There's a whole bunch of Fangio was let go by the Broncos. Matt Nagy was let go by the Bears. I mean, there's a long list. The one that surprised me is Flores. I thought Miami was building something there. I mean, I know they lost 7 straight. They won 7 straight. They almost qualified for the playoffs. They can clearly play defense. Waddle is a freaking baller. I mean, breaking Anquan Bolden's like they were on to something. I was really surprised that they let him go. I mean, he's probably the only one of in recent memory from the Belichick tree that sniffed the room that Belichick sat in, that had a chance to do something. And honestly, I mean, he automatically, I think, becomes a contender for, a candidate for any of the open positions. I don't know if you guys feel the same or not, but I honestly feel that they did him dirty.
They said there was issues between him and the owner. The issues with, I don't think he was super in the bag for Tua, and him and Tua didn't have the best relationship. There's some weird things that are probably going to come out over the next couple of days and weeks.
Well, Tua stinks. Tua stinks. He had a guy that could win.
He got a lot of. I mean, they were 9 and I think they ended up 8 and 9 after whatever.
Yeah,
either 8 or 9 or 9 and 8, whatever. But they had something going that this year, and
that's after they sold off all their pieces, right? They got rid of all the talent. Yeah. They basically pulled a Tampa Bay Rays where they just get rid of everybody and then restock. But Tua, Tua's not the answer at quarterback. They had something going with Fitzpatrick before that, right? So I'm just surprised that he was let go. Matt Nagy didn't surprise me. The Bears have been I don't remember the Bears being good. Like I really, it hurts my brain to think back to when were the Bears good?
Well, he was one coach of the year his first year, I think in 2018. Yes. I guess the question I was going to throw back to you is, what job do you guys think is the most attractive one of the ones that are available? Like if you were like a premier head coach.
I think the Broncos. And it's not even close.
With no quarterback?
Yeah, I mean the Broncos, whoever goes to the Broncos, the defense is sound. They've got a ton of picks from the Von Miller trade. They've locked up all their, I've said this before, they've locked up all their receivers and all their skill position players. They're going to be an attractive landing spot for any quarterback. That's the best position to be in. And they got they play in a competitive division for sure. But I think that's the clear-cut number one. I think Miami might be number 2 because of all the ancillary benefits of living in South Beach. And then like the Bears, no thank you.
The Vikings.
The Vikings are interesting too. The Vikings they got a good quarterback, a stud receiver, a stud running back.
Quarterback.
Well,
super average, and he's an anti-vaxxer.
I mean, you can step into the into Minnesota right now and win 8 games next year, right? Or 9 games.
In Minnesota,
they lost 4 at the gun, right? So I mean, they're you are what you are, but they're actually better than their record.
No,
the Bears, I think, are worse than their record. So I don't know. Vikings.
The Bears at least have something you can build on with a quarterback. That's the thing.
That's what I say. Is I look at Minnesota and I look at Jacksonville. I look at a quarterback who is super talented and just scratching the surface is completely, potential, full of potential. Captain Kirk has hit his ceiling and is on the way down. We know we got with Kirk.
He's been sitting at that ceiling for a while.
He's been cashing in on that ceiling for a while. Okay, that brother cashed in. But
What's the worst? What's the worst opening, Razzle? That's a more interesting question. Is it
Washington.
Bears? Is it the Giants? The Giants got to be the worst one.
It has to be the Giants right now. I mean, they have no quarterback. They kind of are in the same boat as us. There's nothing to look forward to for next year. Their fan base has checked out on them. They've become an embarrassment. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with Daniel Jones. I mean, they honestly, the only piece they really have is Saquon Barkley, but he can't even stay healthy. It has to be that Giants job. I mean, the good thing about the Giants job is you're going to get the GM and the coach come in at the same time. They said the GM is going to – same thing with Minnesota. You're going to get a new GM. And same thing with the Bears.
Although I don't love it when it's the same person. Like Ron the coach is better than Ron the GM, right? Like I don't mind Ron the coach. I don't like Ron the GM.
But you see what they did in San Francisco with pulling in Lynch and Shanahan together, tying them up for 6 years, saying these are our two guys. We're going to build with these two guys.
You're both on the hook for it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the model that needs to be followed.
Well, and Shanahan, if the 49ers had missed the playoffs this year, even given all the injuries and the COVID and everything, I think his seat would have been really hot. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to start going through some of these playoffs, guys, because NFL playoffs are here. This is officially wild card weekend / long weekend, I guess. The first time we're ever going to have a Monday night playoff game, which is pretty sweet.
On a holiday weekend.
And a Sunday
which
night
is awesome, right? So let's just hit these in order. We'll just go in order. First game up, Raiders at Bengals Saturday in the late afternoon window. Raiders are traveling to Cincinnati. Joe, if you got the line, pull it up.
It's 5.5. Bengals are up 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, and this is all I'm going to say on this game, I think the Bengals can beat literally any team that is alive in the playoffs, AFC or NFC. I don't think Jamar Chase can be covered one-on-one. I think he presents a matchup problem for any defense, very similar to some of the other elite wide receivers in the league. And Joe Burrow, I mean, he's playing with some swag right now. And if they can run the ball, they can win these games, and they're home. So
are we putting money on the Bengals to make the Super Bowl?
It depends. I think it depends. I think that, well, obviously they got to get past the Raiders first, and I think it depends on how. I think it's the the Patriots Bills. It depends on how that game shakes out, because I think if I'm not mistaken, the remaining seed the winner of that game would travel to Cincinnati. I got to pull up the tree.
Yeah. So because they're the 4-5, so most likely they'll be the ones who play Kansas.
Because I'm assuming that the Steelers will get destroyed by the Chiefs. But let's stick to this game for a second here, Stevie. Do you have a feeling one way or the other? Raiders at Bengals?
I've always said, as in I've said this the past 2 weeks, I've always said that the team who wins the Super Bowl is not the best team, it's the hottest team. The Bengals right now are hot. Joe Burrow.
Smoking hot.
There is no quarterback who's playing better than Joe Burrow right now. I'll take the Bengals at least for this week and potentially beyond.
Taking the points, 5.5?
I actually will give them I don't think it'll be a blowout. So I don't think they'll cover, but I like them winning.
You know, I remember our preseason prediction show. I think Stevie picked the Bengals to go to the playoffs. So
that's right. And you guys laughed at me, okay? I never forget people who laugh at me, okay?
I think I had the Browns and not the Bengals, but hey, you picked it. You picked it. So, God, but this is too much. We're dapping up Stevie too much. It's making me sick.
We gotta get credit.
The guy who doesn't watch any sports is getting way too much love on the sports show. Razzle, where are you on this game?
No, it's the Bengals. I'm riding high. I think the Raiders Super Bowl was this past week. You know, that's where they, had their high. They're going to probably come in a little flat. It's a short turnaround between, Sunday night to Saturday afternoon.
You love the short turnaround bit. Like
I'm saying they're coming off the high.
30-year-old professional athletes care about 6 extra hours.
No, it's because he gets winded on short turnaround.
Yeah. You're comparing yourself to professional athletes again.
No, trust me. They're going to come in flat. They're going to come in and show who they truly are. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the points 5 at 5.5.
All right, so that's a sweep. We all got the Bengals. Let's move on to the late game on Saturday night. It's the Patriots going to the Bills. Honestly, boys, I kind of wanted to see this matchup a little bit later in the playoffs, but and we've already seen it a couple times this year. I think the Bills have figured out what they need to do. And I'll say this: the Patriots can beat the Bills, unless the Patriots fall behind by more than a score, or if they fall behind by 2 touchdowns. I don't think that Patriots offense has it in them to go get that many points as the game progresses. I think Bill Belichick is going to need to rely on some trickery, some gamesmanship here, and it's going to require that the Bills just kind of poop on themselves because they're the better team. They are the better team. I like them to win this game. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Bills are built for this. I'm on the Bills. Stevie, where are you on this one?
Yeah, I think the Patriots peaked too early in the season. I don't think they're playing particularly great. I don't think they have the offense to stay with the Bills, nor do I think they have the defense to stop the Bills. I go Bills.
Razzle?
The Patriots haven't really beaten anyone this year. They had the one game against the Bills, which was that weird, snow game where they ran the ball 4,500 times. But other than that, I mean, they were competitive with the Bucs. They were competitive with the Cowboys. But no one really beaten, like you said, they peaked high. I'm taking the Bills. It's Bills -4. I'll take the Bills on the points.
The cover.
All right, so we got a sweep on that one too. Moving on to Sunday in the early window, we got Eagles at Buccaneers, and this is probably the game I am least interested in, to be honest.
That's why they put it at 1 o'clock. Nobody's going to watch.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to watch this game. However, I think there's a chance here for an upset. I just do. I don't know why. I think. Well, what's the line on this one, Razzle? Because I feel like the
it's
Eagles
8.5, but they played earlier this year on a Thursday night, and it was, I think, a pretty close game. It was a one-possession game. I want to say, if I remember, the score was like 28-22, something like that. It ended up being close. So I wouldn't count the Eagles completely out. I mean, they have a running game, and Jalen Hurts isn't, making plays. I think 8.5 is a little too high. I think the Bucs will win, but I think it's going to be a close game.
How confident are you, though? Forget about the line for a second. How confident are you that the Bucs will win this game?
75% confident they'll win this game.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll move in the next round.
Stevie, where are you on this game?
Give me the upset. I think Fletcher Cox.
NFC East homer over here.
And hey, who knows? Antonio Brown may suit up for the Eagles. You never know.
Is Antonio Brown going to play in this playoffs? They don't going to pick him up. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the Chiefs to pick him up or the Packers to pick him up.
It's risky to do it, but how can you say no to somebody like that?
Right.
Listen,
Play 4 games. He can play for it.
I'll give you real football analysis. Brady's kryptonite is a defensive line that can rush. Fletcher Cox, those other boys, super athletic. They can get to him. I think you're right, Joe. I think this game is ripe for an upset, and I'll take the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Buccaneers obviously come to Washington last year in round 1 and struggle with a defensive line that at the time was able to get after Brady. You're 100% right. That was actually literally my note that I was going to bring up. This is where Brady struggles, and it took that game. They obviously got past Washington, ended up winning, and coasted the rest of the way. I think it's going to be something similar to that. I think if the Eagles can pressure Brady, I think they can beat them. And they're running the Eagles when they want to run the ball. Nobody's going to stop them. I mean, they will wear you down. And the Bucs are loaded with talent defensively as well. But Jalen does present a running threat. I'm not a big Jalen Hurts. I'm not a fan of that model. But they are very good at running the ball when they want to. And if the weather is not ideal for passing, that kind of limits Brady a little bit, although, of course, he's been doing it for 50 years, so he'll be fine. But I don't know. That Buccaneers offense is just missing something, right? I mean, not specific to Antonio Brown. I mean, you can only ask Gronk to go out and run that deep slant route so many times. He's going to catch it, but the wheels, I feel like, are just coming off. Maybe the Bucs win. Honestly, this is a toss-up. I'm not picking the upset here. I think the Bucs can win it, but I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's too large of a spread. I think it'll be a close game. Maybe the surprise game of the weekend that's closer than everyone expects. But so I think so. Razzle, you're on the Bucs. Stevie, you're on the Eagles, and I'm on the Bucs. And no one's got them covering.
No, they're not covering. It'll be a close game. It'll be a one-possession game.
All right. Okay. Late game on Sunday. Sorry. The mid game, the afternoon game is the 49ers at Cowboys. An interesting tidbit on this one, boys. I was listening to a hit from Dallas. Actually, I don't know if you guys remember. Do you guys remember Sean Sharif? He was here for a while on local radio here in DC, and then he moved over to, he does morning drive now in Dallas. It was a little bit that came up on the crawl in my Twitter. And basically it was Cowboys fans calling in, begging other Cowboys fans not to sell their tickets to the 49ers fans that were going to invade Dallas. I don't know why the 49ers travel so well. I have no idea why, but they show up everywhere. And apparently there's a real panic that Jerry's World is going to be just a sea of red on Sunday. I don't know how much that actually factors in. I've never really bought into the home field hype or that the crowd really makes an impact on a game. Maybe it's a distraction, and I'm sure it sucks when your home team fans are being drowned out by visitor fans. But if that's a real problem to the point where people are calling in, and that's such like a DC thing. But I think the Cowboys should win this game. What's the line on this one, Joe?
It's 3.
Yeah. I have a suspicion. I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I think they are defensively able. They are capable of stopping the 49ers. I think offensively, when they're on, they present way too many weapons for the 49ers to cover. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I'm not confident in this pick, but I am going to pick them. Stevie, where are you on this one?
Where I'm at is looking at Razzle shaking his head and thinking that's ridiculous that you're about to make a pick that's not the Cowboys. I will pick the Cowboys to win this game in addition to the next 2 games to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
and
write it down.
Oh, wow.
You guys, I can't believe you're saying wow or whatever. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are the most complete team in this postseason, top to bottom. They do not have a weakness. They have an incredible offensive line, Tyron Smith, those other boys. They have amazing weapons. At the wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari, Tony Pollard, the emergence of Tony Pollard to spell Zeke. And that defense at every level has at least one superstar. And those defensive linemen are so athletic, the linebackers end to end, and they have a shutdown corner in Trayvon Diggs. This is the most complete team in the playoffs right now, followed by the Los Angeles Rams. But
so you got the Packers behind them?
From a complete standpoint, Aaron Rodgers is a wizard, and he's incredible. The Dallas Cowboys can go in to Lambeau and beat the Green Bay Packers. They will go into Lambeau and beat the Green Bay Packers.
We got a classic game once upon a time in the snow, if I'm not mistaken, and it was Des Bryant that was denied a touchdown and started the controversy. Am I right? Am I thinking of the right game where Des Bryant's catch was ruled not a catch, and that was all she wrote, and the Packers moved on to the Super Bowl. So I'm on the Cowboys, and Stevie's on the Cowboys. Razzle, why are the 49ers going to win this game?
Because the 49ers team is built for this type of game.
Which part of this extremely average team is built for the playoffs?
They are going to run the ball all over the Cowboys. Jimmy's going to make enough plays. This 49ers team is a team
I've never seen someone that's confident in a.
I cannot name their starting running back.
Elijah Mitchell. Come on, it doesn't matter. It could be Alfred Morris. Who cares? Look, I just pulled up while you guys are while Steve was making plans for the Cowboys to make the Super Bowl. I just pulled up the Cowboys season. I'm looking at the teams they beat here. All right, I'm going to name the teams they beat. The Chargers, okay, we'll say it's a good team. Eagles, okay, in the beginning of the season they were whatever. Carolina, Giants, Minnesota, Atlanta, New Orleans. They haven't beaten anyone. They lost to Arizona.
Playoff team.
They lost to Kansas City.
Playoff team.
They lost to Vegas. And they lost to your Broncos.
It's a compelling argument. I mean,
analysis. Okay,
screw you.
Okay, that's what I say.
Oh, and sorry, they lost to Tampa in Week 1.
They played Tampa better than anyone.
They played very well.
But I'm saying they haven't beaten anyone. Yeah, they killed us on Monday night. Yeah, they beat the Eagles when the game doesn't matter. But do you really have faith in Mike McCarthy in the playoffs? Do you really have faith in this coaching staff and Dak and Zeke and this? They are not mentally tough.
Says the guy picking Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hey, Jimmy's going to be our starting quarterback next year, but he's going to get us a big win.
When he's here, we'll cheer for him.
I'm taking the Niners +3.
I honestly don't know what to say to you. Honestly,
No.
I don't know how you pick the 49ers in this spot.
The Niners are the hottest team in the NFC, other than the Packers.
I haven't watched any football, so I just got to take his word for it.
No.
I mean,
Sunday, you get your phones better be ready to get blasted.
I mean, Debo. I'm surprised that there wasn't
Samuel,
one mention of Debo Samuel. Not one. That's the player that is the X factor for the 49ers, but
That's who they run the ball with.
that's what they do everything with, right? He's their guy. He's their
creativity in the coaching staff. Our boy Kyle Shanahan. If I'm betting between Kyle Shanahan and Mike McCarthy, I'm putting on Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, if they have the same players, they don't have the same players.
Yeah, I mean, look, Razzle, if you're right and the Cowboys lose this game, not only does it make Stevie look very foolish because he's got him going to the Super Bowl, but this is the best team that they have fielded in 20 years.
No, they're not meant.
The window is very, very small for this team to get to where they need to get to. That's interesting. I mean, we're split on this one. I guess we'll see, but I'm a little surprised, Razzle, that you're going 49ers on this one, given the Cowboys are just, like Stevie said, that's a talented group.
Very
that defense shows up. Yeah,
they don't have that factor.
It's tough.
They don't
have Razzle, reserve me a spot on the couch at Chateau de Razzle on Sunday afternoon, okay?
Come on over. We'll be watching our FanDuel account just skyrocket because we're going to put a lot of money on the Niners +3, all right?
Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Let's move on to Sunday night in the late window, the nightcap. Probably the least interesting game of the bunch here. Steelers at Chiefs. The line on this one's got to be Chiefs +10 or 11.
12.5.
Yeah, so like that. I think when I saw it earlier today, it was 10. It's going to keep going up. I'm a little surprised. I think some money will come in on the Steelers. I mean, they seem to be able. The Steelers, let me make the case for the Steelers. They can find running backs anywhere, and they seem to always have capable wide receivers. The problem, for the first time in a long time for the franchise, is they don't have a quarterback who can get the ball down the field. I mean, Roethlisberger really is a liability at this point. They didn't belong in the playoffs. They're there. There was a lot of love for him. Like he's never had a losing season, and I think that's incredible, and he deserves credit for it. Same for Tomlin. Like they've never had a season worse than 500. And for a team, we're fans of the Washington football team. Like I would kill for that, right? To have 15 years of 500 or better football, but I don't see how they can beat the Chiefs. And the only way they do it is if they run the ball and they somehow control the clock and get 200 plus yards rushing. I don't see how that's going to happen. And conversely, the Chiefs defense to start the season, first 6 games, they were in the bottom. They were ranked 30th, if I'm not mistaken, literally at the bottom of the league. To finish the season, last 6 games, they were ranked 7th overall. So they found something, and they're playing much better defense. I think they're going to bottle up the Steelers. I don't think this game will be close. I think the Chiefs will cover. I think they're going to win this comfortably. I don't think. I mean, we actually may see Pat Mahomes not finish the game. Like he may not have to finish it. I think that it's that type of game. The only asterisk here potentially is if the weather is terrible and they can't throw the ball, then all bets are off, because I think the Steelers can run the ball, but I think the Chiefs win this one and they cover. Razzle, where are you on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this could be like 31-3 at halftime, and just kind of continue rolling. I mean, the Steelers, they're kind of just running on empty right now. I don't think they snuck in. They probably aren't ready to be there. They probably weren't expecting to be there, based on how the games turned out on this past Sunday. So I'm taking Chiefs. I'm taking in the points, 12.5.
Stevie.
Yeah, I think this game has nothing to do with the Steelers. I mean, thank you, Big Ben. It's been great. Have fun, enjoy your retirement. This is all about the Chiefs and which Chiefs team is going to show up. I mean, this is a Chiefs team that has not played well the last couple of weeks, and it's really due to COVID. I mean, they've had kind of some topsy-turvy kind of COVID situations with some of the key players. So this game is all about the Chiefs in the sense of, are the Chiefs going to get on track and show what they're capable of? Well, then that changes the dynamics in the AFC playoffs. Or are they going to continue to struggle? They're going to win the game regardless, even if they struggle. The question is, if they struggle, it doesn't set them up well going forward. So this is all about the Chiefs. Chiefs will win this game handily.
Do either of you think the Titans are a better team than the Chiefs? Are the Titans the best team in the AFC?
Well, your boy Derrick Henry's back.
Well, I know. We'll see which version of Derrick Henry we get. But to me, the Titans are the biggest surprise number one in a long time. They are. I mean, you give them credit because they won the games that they needed to. They did it with without one of the an MVP candidate at running back. I mean, they really haven't run the ball since Derrick Henry went out with his injury, and he is coming back. We'll see how healthy he is and what he's able to do. But I mean, to me, the Chiefs are the better team, and head to head, I would take the Chiefs to beat the Titans. I would probably take the Bills to beat the Titans, and I would maybe even take the Bengals in certain circumstances to beat the Titans. So the Titans to me are an outlier number one that I don't think will be favored in Vegas's eyes, regardless of who they have to face. I don't know if do you guys have a strong feeling one way or the other about it?
No, I don't. But what I will say is,
thanks.
if the Chiefs don't get on track this week, then I will say the Bengals, to me, could be facing Dallas in the Super Bowl in about 4 weeks. I think it really leaves the door open for the Bengals.
That would be wild.
Well, the way based on our
you should open your FanDuel account right now and put money on that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
I will, because my FanDuel account is your FanDuel account.
Well, then our FanDuel account should put some money on that matchup because that's wild.
No, I mean it's going to be based on our picks because the Bills had a 4 or 5 matchup. It's actually going to be the Bills Chiefs next week, and then the Bengals Titans.
Yeah.
So we could see a Chiefs Bengals AFC Championship.
I would love that. I think that would be a great matchup.
Yeah.
The last game though in the wild card round will be Monday night, first ever Monday night football game, playoff football game, and it's arguably the best one of the slate. The Cardinals are traveling to the Rams, to SoFi, to face the Rams. This one to me, I don't have a read on it. I don't know where the line is either, Razzle, but this one, these teams know each other. They're obviously division rivals. They see this will be the third time that they lock up this year. My gut is telling me to go with the Rams because the Rams are the more complete team. They are the better coach team. There's more ties to DC, even though they really don't matter. I always find myself rooting for McVay because he's running around the sideline. He's jumping up and down in the end zone. I'm pulling for him. But the Cardinals can clearly get it done. I mean, when they want to play, they can play. They are tough to match up with on offense. I think JJ Watt is back as well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to take the Rams at home. Do either of you take the Cardinals in this spot?
I'm really torn on this game. It's the line's 4. They split the season series. The last one the Rams won on Monday night, just in December. The Rams are kind of sluggish right now. Matt Stafford's not looking like the Matt Stafford that they traded 3 number 1 picks for. And I'm on the Rams bandwagon. I haven't left yet. I picked them in the beginning of the season to make the Super Bowl, so I have to stick with that and say that the Rams are going to win. But neither of these teams, as they played at certain points in the season, have played very well, and are not playing at that level right now. That gets you excited. That because they're the 4 or 5 matchup. So most likely, since you guys think the Cowboys are going to win next week, let's just assume that they would be playing the Packers. This team would be playing the Packers, and I don't think either of the teams can beat the Packers. So I'm not excited about this. I'll take the Rams just because I picked them in the beginning of the season. I'm a big McVay guy.
Well, I think Stafford is. I think he's extremely underrated, and I've said this many times. He will never get credit for being the quarterback behind the 2 greatest receiving seasons in NFL history. And Cooper Kupp finished the season 4 catches and 18 yards short of setting 2 NFL single season.
You want to make a case for a non-quarterback MVP. It's Cooper Kupp, not Jonathan Taylor.
And they have a ton of offensive firepower. They can lock down anybody defensively. I agree. I think whichever team comes out of this, whoever has to face the Packers is going to lose. But on this game, I like the Rams. It sounds like Razzle, you're on the Rams as well. Stevie, where are you on this one?
Yeah, I think the Rams, like I said, are the second most talented team behind the Cowboys. I just don't trust the guy you just praised. I don't trust Matthew Stafford. I think he's very streaky. I think he'll give you that 3 interception half like he did a couple weeks ago.
I think this is his first career playoff game. Is that possible?
No, he played with the Lions. The Lions. He took the Lions to the playoffs one year. They played the Cowboys on against Romo. I think wild card.
Megatron.
Yeah, He's been to the playoffs.
Okay.
I don't think he's won. He hasn't won.
Definitely hasn't won a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't trust him. But I mean, the rest of that team is super talented. So I do think it'll carry them through this week. And I think if he gets hot, a streaky quarterback, they'll give the Packers a run. But I think Aaron Rodgers right now is playing out of this world. So I don't think they have enough firepower to go into Lambeau.
I mean, the bye week doesn't hurt that, right? I mean, I'm always curious about this. Like, do you want the bye week?
At A-Rod's age, you do.
I mean, is momentum a real thing? Like, I always find myself asking the same question. Like, do you risk injury versus momentum? Like, certainly you would rather have the rest, I think, at this point in the season, right?
Yeah, and the risk of injury, you don't want to come into the next week hobbled. I think the bye week makes a big difference for teams like Tennessee and the Packers right now, and gives them one less opportunity to lose.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
the problem with the current bye week is it makes you more susceptible to be at the club to get COVID.
I was just about to say, like, COVID is an X factor here that you can't measure. I mean, look at what
the NFL stopped testing, Joe. They stopped testing.
You haven't heard any COVID. Like,
you have to. You're testing vaccinated asymptomatic players, like asymptomatic players. What are you doing? Right?
Vaccinated and boosted, probably too.
Okay, to borrow a line from our former president, the more tests you do, the more positives you're going to find. Right? So, it's very simple logic, right? Just stop testing. They're vaxxed, they're boosted, they're whatever. Just let them play football. Tell them to sign a waiver.
I mean, I wish we had
all the vaccines in the world don't matter when you celebrate by jumping into the stands. Okay, like let's not be foolish here.
We got to schedule another show to talk about old Joe's frosty reception in Atlanta, Georgia today.
Well, I didn't. I'm not up to speed. What happened to Brandon? Tell me.
I mean, Biden went to give a speech on voting rights in Atlanta, Georgia, and the most prominent Democratic politician in the state, Stacey Abrams, caught a bit of Bidenitis and didn't even show up because she didn't want to be associated with him.
Where is the vice president of the United States, Stevie?
Wherever she is, she's laughing her head off because that's all she knows how to do.
We you know what? You're right. We do need a tangent show here. I mean, once upon a time, we used to talk about other things here. I know we're in the throes of football season here.
Come on, it's NFL playoffs. There's nothing else to talk about. All right.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. But okay, so we went through all of it. I mean, look, it sounds like the upset pick is the Eagles at Bucks, or most likely upset pick, although Razzle is putting some big money, it sounds like, on the 49ers.
We agreed on all the games except the Cowboys and Niners.
No, Stevie picked the Eagles to beat the Bucks.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Right, but he had them and no cover as well.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. I mean, look, I've never watched an NFL wildcard weekend with a Monday game. This is going to be interesting. 3 days of football. Sounds great to me. I know, Razzle, you are not you take it very personally that the teams that will play on Monday night have to have a short week and blah, blah, blah. They'll probably get the late Sunday window, whatever. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Okay. Like, I don't think that one day makes a big difference.
Best weekend of football.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully, hopefully it lives up. I mean, I don't know. The 18-week season was nice too, to be honest. I mean, it gave us one extra week of football.
But you had teams like the Cardinals and the Patriots who like peaked at different times in the season, and now they're like on the downward trend. It just felt long. We'll get used to it.
It feels better to me. Like, you should have only one team with a bye. Like, having the 2-team bye, this feels better to me. More teams beat the playoffs, but
can we do like a live halftime show in between some of the Sunday games? Come on, Joe, get creative here, brother.
Do I ever say no? Let's go to Glory Days. Let's take a show on the road.
Stevie, you have to say Joe has never said no to the topic on the mic. This show got put together in 2 hours before this, and he was.
I never say no. Talk to the other cast members around here.
Yeah,
Matt the Met is anxiously waiting for pitchers and catchers to report.
He's like down in Fort Lauderdale, just like sitting at an empty baseball.
I mean, Stevie, you're hardcore about baseball. Matt is literally like every day sending me messages about like what's happening with the lockout. I'm like, I don't care.
Hey, big news. The Washington Nationals have signed a Soto.
The brother.
They signed Elian Soto, age 16, who was supposed to sign with the Mets. The big Soto, Big Daddy Soto, convinced him to sign with the Nationals. Bodes very well for both Sotos being here for quite a long time.
I've never had brothers on a roster.
Is his brother or
son?
Brothers
brothers on a.
That's his brother.
Oh,
yeah. Have we ever had brothers on a major league roster at the same time?
Um,
I know the Griffies were father and son, which is
son.
crazy.
And they homered back to back.
Yes.
And Bonds played with his dad.
Oh, I didn't know that. But has there ever been brothers on the same team?
I
NFL,
believe
sometimes we get brothers against each other, but
Pedro Martinez and Ramon Martinez, and since neither of you can fact check me on this, Pedro Martinez and Ramon Martinez, I believe, played for the Dodgers for a season together before Pedro went to the Red Sox.
We will have Matt fact check you.
We've had it in football, and in basketball.
The Morris brothers played. Oh yeah, Morris brothers played together.
Morris brothers played together. The Antetokounmpo.
They're all. They're all
They never had a father-son until LeBron. That's
what LeBron's holding out for.
Yo, LeBron. Can we talk about LeBron for a second? You want to do a quick basketball thing?
He's crushing it.
He is. He's arguably playing better at 37 than he was at 27.
Yeah.
I mean,
he has to because he has no one else around him.
I don't think it's sustainable though. But I can't cheer for him, Joe. I don't know.
I can't cheer for this Lakers
I can't cheer for him. I can't.
No.
I can't.
No.
I can't. I find him unwatchable, and I don't know why.
You have to get on the Warriors bandwagon. The Warriors are the team of the West.
Yeah. Did you watch any of Clay's return?
I did. It's crazy. It's been 3 years since 2019, since that finals against the Raptors. He hasn't played. He tore his ACL that game, and then he tore his Achilles when he was coming back.
In training camp, he never saw.
Yeah, but training camp this season, he was trying to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA is. I've been watching more of it. Like Kuzma's tearing it up here locally.
Yeah,
he's having a little boot. I mean, I think he's making people.
He found the home here in DC.
He's also making people, I think, take a second look at Beal and that enormous contract and the money that they're going to have to spend to keep him here. So
they should spend it.
Yeah, I mean, you think they should?
I think they should. I mean, when else are you going to get someone that rather be his caliber on your roster?
I don't think he gives you enough. Sorry, I don't think he's an elite supermax ×2 player. I don't see it.
If you see who's getting those contracts,
I know. I'm saying he's worth more as draft collateral or other players.
I mean, you're
same with what they did with Russell. Like if they look at the haul they got for Westbrook. What kind of haul would you get for Bradley?
Right, but if you that haul would put, you're going to have a bunch of rotational players at that point. You'll be what
but they got good players now.
But you'll be what the Pelicans. The Pelicans traded Anthony Davis and they got a bunch of rotational
By the way,
players.
Is Zion ever going to play again?
No, he's a big bust. He hates it in New Orleans and he's out of shape. He's
I find myself feeling really bad for him. Like the shape, the body. I find myself feeling bad for him.
I think some of it's self-inflicted. I don't think it's
for sure. I mean, yeah, for sure. But I just find myself looking at him and saying like all the potential in the world, and like they can't find a trainer or a bodyguard or a chaperone or someone.
I think he doesn't want to be there, and they've been mishandling his injury situation.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Look, Stevie's falling asleep.
Yeah, it's like NBA.
I turned my mic off. I'm on my phone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what are you looking at, Stevie?
Don't worry. Hey, don't worry about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Put me on the spot like that.
Secondary shows. That's the show after the show, the behind the show. When the cameras go off. Any final
that's behind the paywall.
It's coming very soon. Very soon. It could be $1, but the content on this channel is too good to give away for free. That's my conclusion after watching endless other people's shows that cover DC sports. I mean,
we're following your lead, Captain.
Okay, coming soon. By the end of 2022, DTC's moving behind the paywall. That's what's
there. You go. Big plan.
Free show. Yeah. The some of the other shows maybe are can be teasers or for free, but the big shows they're going behind the paywall. Razzle, any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited for playoff football. I'm excited for the games. I like the picks that we made, and I'm going to say this right now: go Niners.
That's so stupid, Stevie.
No, best weekend of football coming up. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it together.
Give me your one name that you hope the team is renamed to go out. Razzle, the team will be called the
Red Tails.
Stevie, the team will be called the
Armada.
I'm going with WarHogs, but we'll see.
I can do WarHogs.
I could see WarHogs with the whole Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I mean, WarHogs is kind of cool because you drop the war and just call them the Hogs. You've got they were always the secondary mascot anyway. The logo could be badass. Keep the W. Maybe.
Call your boy Jason Wright and make it happen.
I don't have his number, but I know where I can find him.
Hey.
You want to? Let's take a little road trip, Stevie. You know exactly where we're going.
Well, wherever it is, he'll be swinging.
From the ceiling?
No. If you know, you know, okay?
You know. If you know, you know.
All
I'll have to
right.
check that part out. Thank you, boys. Have a great night. My name is Joe for Razzle and for Stevie. This show is called Defeating the Curse. You can find us on every social media platform. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, on Google, on Spotify, on TuneIn, on Alexa, on whatever. Just say play DTC and we will come right up. Thank you for hanging with us for the past hour. We appreciate it. Any thoughts, any comments, you want to join the show at any point in time, send a DM on any platform. I'll get back to you right away. Thank you for hanging out with us. My name is Joe again. This is DTC. We will recap all these games, all the playoff action next week, if not sooner. We may come back. I think Stevie and I may do one more show later this week and talk about a couple other things happening around DC. But for now, thank you for hanging out with us. We are